Hey everyone, so today we're diving into something that could totally change how AI works with the real world. We're talking about a new protocol, a standard that promises to let AI out of its digital box so it can actually do things for us. All right, let's get into it.
I mean, it seems like such a simple question, doesn't it? You can have this deep, philosophical conversation with an AI. You can ask it to write poetry, or even help you debug some code. But the moment you say, hey, book me a flight, it just hits a wall. So why is that? Well, the answer to that question really gets to the core of the biggest limitation of AI today.
To really get it, you have to start here. Just picture today's AIs as these absolutely brilliant brains, but they're completely isolated. They're locked in a room with zero access to the outside world.
What we're really talking about are large language models, LLMs. At their heart, they're just incredibly powerful text predictors. They've been fed a giant slice of the internet, which gives them this amazing ability to understand what we're saying, to generate text, and even to reason through some pretty complex problems.
But, and this is the critical part, look at what they can't do on their own. They are totally disconnected. They can't check a database to see if a flight is available right now. They have no way to connect to an airline's booking system. And they definitely can't work with other AIs to find you the best deal. They only know about the world as it was when they were trained. They have no live connection to what's happening this very second.
So developers knew this was a huge problem, and they started trying to build tools to give these locked-in brains some hands and eyes. But yeah, those first attempts were a little clumsy. It all started with things like ChatGPT plugins, which were really the first shot at giving these models tools. That then got a little better with something called function calling, which was a more structured way for an AI to ask for help from an external tool. But here was the massive problem. Every single tool needed its own custom, one-off integration. It was just this ad hoc mess, with no universal language to tie it all together. And that messy, fragmented approach just wasn't going to work long-term. For AI to really make that next big leap forward, it needed a universal language.
So how do you solve this? How do you get thousands of different systems, all built by different people, to talk to an AI in one simple, standard way? Well, it turns out the blueprint for the answer has been right under our noses for decades. Just think back to the early days of the internet. It had the exact same problem. You had all these different computers and networks, but they all spoke different languages. There was no standard way for them to talk to each other. It was basically chaos. Before the HTTP protocol came along, every single application had its own custom way of communicating online. But once HTTP was created, boom, suddenly every web browser and every web server on the planet could speak the same language. It's what unlocked the web as we know it. AI needed its own HTTP. And that is precisely what the Model Context Protocol, or MCP, is designed to be. It's a proposed standard, a rulebook, that defines one single way for LLMs to talk to everything outside of themselves. We're talking APIs, databases, or even other AI models. Seriously, if you remember one thing from this whole explainer, make it this. MCP is for AI what HTTP was for the internet. It's that universal translator that finally allows for smooth, standardized communication. Okay, so what does this actually look like when it's working? How does it actually get a model to stop just guessing and start knowing? Let's walk through a super simple request. So imagine you ask your AI, hey, what were my last 5 failed payments? An LLM with MCP built in instantly knows, okay, I don't have that information. So it sends a standard MCP request to a server. That server securely grabs the real data, sends it back, and now the LLM can give you a factual, grounded answer based on reality. And that standard request it sends, it looks something like this. Super simple, and honestly, even a human can read it pretty easily. The action is query. The resource it needs is the payments table, and the parameters are status failed and limit 5. Any system out there that speaks MCP knows exactly what this means and what to do. Okay, so let's circle back to our flight booking example, because this is where you can really see the night and day difference between the old way and the new way. This is the old way. Total chaos. To book a flight, an AI would have to learn the specific, complicated, and completely different languages for British Airways, Emirates, and Delta. It would need to be fluent in REST and GraphQL and SOAP just to compare 3 options. It's a total mess. But with MCP, all of that complexity just vanishes. The AI sends one single clean request.
The action is book, the resource is a flight, and here are the details of the trip. The AI doesn't have to care what airline it is or what tech they're using on the back end. It just speaks MCP.
Now, this raises a really important question. Is MCP trying to get every airline in the world to throw out their old systems and rebuild everything into one giant unified API?
And the answer is no, not at all. And this is the most elegant part. MCP doesn't change the airline systems one bit. It just standardizes how the LLM talks to them. You have an MCP server that sits in the middle and acts like a universal translator. It takes that simple request from the LLM and translates it into whatever language, REST, GraphQL, whatever, the airline system already understands.
This idea, this universal translator, it sounds simple, but the implications are absolutely massive. This isn't just some small technical fix. It's a real evolution in what AI agents can be and what they can do for us.
I mean, the benefits are huge. First, you get consistency. Developers don't have to write custom code for every single tool anymore. You get context awareness, which means models are using real up-to-the-second data instead of just making stuff up. You get way better security because that MCP server acts like a bouncer at a club. And maybe the coolest part, you finally make it possible for different AIs to actually work together. Now, this protocol was first introduced by the AI company Anthropic back in 2024. And what's really important is that they proposed it as an open standard. They're inviting the entire tech community to build this thing together, to create that foundational layer for the next wave of AI. So that's where we'll leave it, with this question. Forget just booking a single flight. What happens when an AI can coordinate your flight with a car rental service, with your hotel booking, and with your calendar, all through one seamless standard conversation? What becomes possible when every AI, every agent, and every service in the world can finally speak the same language? That is the future that a protocol like MCP is promising.